So you want to know about the Tanaka Tower? Jesus Christ, where do I even begin with this absolute monument to human greed and architectural overcompensation? Look, if you've never seen this thing, you've either never been to Scarlet Park, which, honestly, good for you, or you've been living under a rock for the past 15 years. And considering the rent prices in this godforsaken city, living under a rock might actually be a viable housing option at this point. The tower stands 144 floors tall in the heart of downtown, and let me tell you something, it's not just a building. Oh no, that would be too simple, too honest. This thing is a vertical ecosystem, a capitalist terrarium where every conceivable form of human ambition, desperation, and straight-up insanity has found a way to monetize itself somewhere between the ground floor and whatever fresh hell exists on floor 144. The whole thing operates on one beautifully simple principle. If you can dream it, someone's probably already figured out how to charge admission for it. There's exactly one rule that's never been broken. Officially speaking anyway. And that's no residential units. Everything else? Fair fucking game. The building directory alone reads like a fever dream of late-stage capitalism. I'm talking cryptocurrency mining operations next to artisanal soap boutiques. Venture capital firms sharing elevator space with underground poker rooms that may or may not be performance art pieces. And somewhere between floors 78 and 82, there's allegedly a black market organ donor registry, though nobody's quite sure if it's real or just someone's really dark art installation. But let's start at the bottom and work our way up, because that's how you climb the social ladder in Scarlet Park. One overpriced floor at a time. Let's start with the foundation, which are floors 1 through 15. The lobby is all marble and chrome and the kind of intimidating emptiness that whispers, "You don't belong here, but please, spend your money anyway." The security guards look like they're moonlighting from the Secret Service, checking IDs with the thoroughness of people who've seen every possible variety of bullshit. I'm talking hedge fund bros trying to sneak into competitor meetings, aspiring influencers hoping to fake their way into a content opportunity, and trust fund kids who think having daddy's credit card makes them entrepreneurs. Floors 2 through 5 house the financial district of the tower. Banks, investment firms, and the kind of financial advisory services that promise to turn your student loan debt into leverage growth opportunities. This is where people like Maya Chen work, crunching numbers that determine whether startups live or die, building algorithms that predict market crashes with the accuracy of a meteorologist and the confidence of a fortune teller. Floor 7 is the infamous food court, where, and I shit you not, a grilled cheese costs $18 and comes with a side of existential dread. The vendors range from artisanal everything to chains that somehow convince themselves they're local. There's this persistent rumor that the sushi place on the northwest corner is actually a money laundering operation, but the spicy tuna rolls are legitimately good, so nobody asks too many questions. That's Scarlet Park for you. As long as the product delivers, nobody gives a damn about the process. And then you have floors 8 through 12, home to small business incubators, the kind of place where 20-somethings with trust funds and MacBooks convince themselves they're disrupting industries that don't need disrupting. The failure rate is roughly 90%, but the survivors sometimes become the kind of success stories that keep this whole ecosystem running. This is also where you'll find the consulting firms that exist primarily to help rich people feel productive while contributing absolutely nothing measurable to society. Now, floor 13. Well, that's where things get interesting. Officially, floor 13 doesn't exist. The elevator buttons skip from 12 to 14, because apparently even a building designed to extract maximum profit from human ambition has some superstitions. Unofficially, there are stories. Marcus Webb, who used to work security on the night shift, swears he once got off on 13 by accident around 3:33 a.m. and found nothing but empty offices with computers that were somehow still running programs no one could identify. But Marcus also claims his ex-wife was replaced by a clone, so take that with whatever grain of salt your insurance plan covers. The hustle floors, 16 through 45. This is where Scarlet Park's media empire lives and breathes. Floor 23 houses the Scarlet Park Gazette, where Lucy Briggs has her corner office overlooking the financial district, a perfect vantage point for watching corporate America eat itself alive. The newsroom operates on a caffeine and deadline economy that makes cocaine dealers look like life coaches, churning out content that ranges from Pulitzer-worthy investigative journalism to 10 ways to maximize your subway commute for personal growth. Because nothing says quality journalism like productivity porn for commuters. Lucy's office is legendary for three things: the floor-to-ceiling windows that offer the best view of corporate malfeasance in the city, the wall of journalism awards that she won back when journalism paid enough to afford wall space, and the emergency whiskey stash hidden behind her law school diploma that she breaks out whenever a story gets killed by someone with more money than ethics. Floors 24 through 31 are advertising agencies, PR firms, and marketing consultants. The people who convince you that you need things you don't want with money you don't have. They share the space with video production companies that make everything from Super Bowl commercials to training videos about sexual harassment in the workplace. Because apparently, irony is just another billable hour. The really interesting stuff happens on floors 32 through 38, which technically house technology consulting firms, but actually function as Scarlet Park's version of the digital Wild West. These are the floors where cryptocurrency gets mined in server farms disguised as graphic design studios, where blockchain developers build platforms for things that don't need platforms, and where someone is always 3 months away from launching the app that will revolutionize human connection. Spoiler alert, it's usually just another dating app with a subscription model. Floor 34 is home to Cyberdelia, a tech hub and creative workspace that looks like what would happen if a 1990s arcade had a baby with a modern co-working space and raised it on energy drinks and venture capital. It's where freelance coders go to pretend they're not slowly going insane from working alone, where startup founders practice their pitches on anyone who will listen, and where someone is always trying to crowdfund the next big thing. The neon lighting alone probably costs more than most people's rent, but it creates the kind of atmosphere where spending $14 on avocado toast seems reasonable. The entertainment complex, floors 46 through 75. This is where the tower transforms from a workplace into a playground for people with more money than sense. Floor 47 houses 3 different nightclubs, each catering to a different brand of wealthy desperation. Vertigo for tech bros who think they're artists. Elevation for finance types who think they're tech bros, and the Penthouse Lounge for people who think they're better than both but still need somewhere to spend daddy's money. The strip clubs are on floors 52 and 53, because apparently even adult entertainment needs to maintain some kind of pecking order. The difference between Club Executive and Platinum Dreams isn't the quality of the entertainment, it's the quality of the money being laundered through their books. Both clubs maintain the kind of client discretion that costs extra but keeps divorce lawyers in business. Floors 54 through 61 are restaurants that range from aggressively overpriced to genuinely good but still aggressively overpriced. There's La Bernardine Scarlet Park, French cuisine that tastes like pretension with a side of bankruptcy. Tanaka Sushi, run by a guy from New Jersey who legally changed his name to Tanaka. And the hedge fund, a steakhouse where the portions are small, the prices are large, and the clientele spends more on wine than most people spend on cars. The arcade on floor 58 is where nostalgia goes to die a slow, expensive death. Vintage games that you can play for the low price of $5 per attempt, surrounded by craft beer that costs more than the original arcade games cost when they were new. It's popular with tech executives who want to feel connected to their gaming roots, and venture capitalists who think retro aesthetics equal authentic experiences. The professional stratosphere, floors 76 through 120. These floors are where Scarlet Park's actual power brokers conduct the business of buying and selling everyone else's dreams. Law firms with names that sound like Shakespearean villains, Pemberton, Wickshire and Associates, anyone. Investment banks that treat human suffering as a growth opportunity. And consulting firms that charge six figures to tell you what you already know, but in PowerPoint format. Floor 89 is entirely occupied by Meridian Holdings, a venture capital firm that specializes in disruptive technologies and paradigm-shifting investment opportunities, which is corporate speak for we buy startups and fire everyone to increase profit margins. Their conference rooms have views that cost more per square foot than most people's annual salaries, and their lunch meetings determine the economic fate of thousands of employees who will never know their names. The pharmaceutical lobbyists live on floors 95 through 98, sharing space with defense contractors and energy company representatives. The holy trinity of American capitalism, working together to ensure that healthcare, security, and environmental destruction remain profitable endeavors. They host quarterly mixers where they compare notes on regulatory capture and plan their children's admission to Ivy League schools. Floor 103 houses Scarlet Park's most exclusive private members club, the Altitude Society, where membership costs more than a house and the waiting list is longer than most prison sentences. This is where deals get made over scotch that's older than democracy, where political careers are purchased like luxury automobiles, and where the phrase, "What happens at altitude stays at altitude," isn't just a slogan. It's a legally binding non-disclosure agreement. The gray areas, floors 121 through 144. The top floors of the Tanaka Tower exist in a legal and ethical gray area that would make philosophy professors weep and tax attorneys rich. These are the floors where international money gets cleaned, where governments in exile conduct their affairs, and where private intelligence firms sell information to the highest bidder regardless of national loyalty or human decency. Floor 127 allegedly houses a data mining operation that knows more about your personal life than you do, run by a company that technically doesn't exist and is funded by governments that officially deny its existence. The servers are supposedly cooled by a system that recycles the tears of privacy advocates, though this might be an urban legend started by someone with a dark sense of humor and access to the building directory. Floor 134 is rumored to be entirely occupied by a single individual, a tech billionaire who bought the entire floor to house his collection of vintage arcade games in his meditation room, where he practices mindfulness between hostile corporate takeovers. The floor requires a special elevator key and 3 different background checks, which seems excessive for video games, but reasonable for someone who treats human resources like actual resources. The final floors, 140 through 144, are officially listed as executive suites and private offices. But building maintenance staff tell stories about finding them empty except for single desks with rotary phones that nobody ever answers. There are whispers about midnight meetings between people who shouldn't exist, about contracts written in languages that predate recorded history, about decisions made that affect global markets without any visible decision makers. But these are just stories, told by night janitors and security guards who work too many hours for too little pay, and maybe spend too much time alone in a building that's too big for its own good. Urban legends for an urban ecosystem where the line between reality and profitable fiction gets blurrier with every floor you climb. The ecosystem in action. What makes the Tanaka Tower fascinating isn't any individual floor, it's the way they all interact, creating a vertical economy where information, money, and influence flow up and down like blood through a circulatory system. The barista on floor 7 might overhear merger talks that affect the stock options of the tech workers on floor 34. The security guard who checks IDs in the lobby might notice patterns in visitor access that reveal which companies are about to go under and which ones are about to cash out. There are people who figured out how to game the system, the consultants who exist primarily to attend catered meetings and never quite finish their projects, the researchers who've convinced multiple companies they're conducting valuable market analysis while actually just collecting paychecks and benefits. Some of them have been pulling this con for years, moving between floors and companies like corporate nomads, always one step ahead of anyone who might ask what they actually do for a living. The tower has its own underground economy too. Not literally underground, since we're talking about a 144-floor building, but economically subterranean. There are people who've learned to exploit the gaps between floors, the undefined spaces where responsibility becomes diffuse, the delivery workers who know which elevators aren't monitored, the cleaning staff who know which offices leave their computers unlocked, the maintenance workers who know which rooms are supposed to be empty but aren't. And somewhere in all of this, between the legitimate businesses and the barely legal operations, between the corporate offices and the entertainment venues, between the stories that make sense and the ones that don't, the Tanaka Tower continues to function as both a monument to human ambition and a warning about what happens when that ambition gets too tall for its own foundation. Because at the end of the day, the tower isn't really about the businesses it houses, or the money it generates, or the power it represents. It's about the people, the ones who work there, the ones who visit there, the ones who dream about working there, and the ones who can't afford to set foot in the lobby. It's about what happens when you take all the complexity of human nature and stack it 144 floors high, creating a vertical city where every possible version of success and failure exists simultaneously, separated only by elevator rides and the kind of thin walls that money can't quite soundproof. Welcome to the Tanaka Tower. Mind the gap between aspiration and reality. It's bigger than it looks from the ground floor. And that, my friends, is just the beginning. Because in Scarlet Park, there is always a higher ladder to climb, and everything is for sale. Everything.